Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it. David?
Lionel?
David?
Lionel?
David.
Yes, Lionel.
You know why you're here, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Because I have to do an introduction by myself, and we both know...
That's not a good thing.
No. It's more like dragging fingernails over a chalkboard.
Good analogy.
So how about this? Is your AML job now is the introduction guy.
There you go.
Hey, that would be a great nickname, Intros. I like that. I don't think you have a nickname.
Not yet.
It's David, Intros, Smart. And not it's got to be with an S, Intros. Hey, Intros, toss me a beer. That's got a ring to it. Intros. Well, I guess we're done here.
And just for the record, it's start, not smart.
Did I say smart?
Yep.
Oh, well, that's like the first time I've ever said that, I think. I don't very often.
A lot of people do it.
Well, sure. A lot of people add an E to the end of my name, too. I'm so happy. And when I was a kid, people, the teacher go, Arnold Strange. And, for the first few grades, 1, 2.
It was funny.
Yeah, well, no, it was never funny. But for the first few grades, I was never particularly brave, shall we say. But by about grade 4, I didn't get along very well with the grade 4 teacher anyways, because she thought it was hilariously funny. That was the problem. She thought it was hilariously funny. She'd get the first name right, but she thought it was hilariously funny to add an E to my name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And about...
that wouldn't fly these days, so...
Yeah. And around the middle of October, I'd say it's probably closer to the beginning. It's the first couple of weeks of November, I got sent home. Because I rather vehemently opposed it one day.
No. And sometimes that's what needs to be done.
Yeah. And my dad was just like wildly angry when he found out what I had said to the teacher. And then about 10 minutes later, when he found out why I said it to the teacher,
he said, good job.
He was wildly angry, and we went back to school. A lot of trips up and down the road, didn't they? Okay, so this is the All-Star Variety Hour number. Don't tell me. Let me guess. It's the All-Star Variety Hour number 26.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is a good one, too. This one actually has a lot of variety.
Are you saying some of them aren't good?
No.
I've thought they've all been stellar, but...
Yeah, they're all stellar. This one has got a lot of variety in it, by definition. And the definition of variety is the quality or state or being different or diverse. The absence of uniformity, sameness, or monotony. Well, monotony, we might have trouble with that. But definitely we have. So, okay. So this show is, I was interviewed by a young guy named, don't tell me. Warrington was his last name. What's his first name? Don't tell me. I have it here somewhere. I'll look for it in the mail. I'm going to find it. I know I have it here somewhere. I'm going to look for it. I know I was right on the tip of my tongue. As soon as I see it, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's who it was. What's his name? What's his first name? Oh, now I feel like a big ball of poop. Let me see.
I see you made a great impression.
Yeah, he's a great kid. He was Drew. Drew was his first name. Drew Warrington, D-R-E-W, Warrington. And he interviewed me because he started a YouTube page for the Northern Delaware Model Railroad Club. And he's 15. And I thought, you know what? When he sent me the emails, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll do it. With totally didn't know what to expect. And then he dialed me up, and we went on, the Zoom or the whatever we used, the Zoom, I think. And this kid, holy mackerel, spoke up, had great audio, super,
excellent.
Super polite. And so we did an interview for like 30 minutes, and it was a ton of fun. And then we got talking, and if you go to his channel, it's Nordell Model RR. So Nor as in Northern, Del as in Delaware, Model as in model.
With one L?
With one L, and then RR, Nordell Model Railroad Club. So it's Nordell. Just go to YouTube and put in Nordell Model RR. And
I will check that out.
Yeah, and super nice kid, and I was like, man, this is what it's all about. So
don't tell the NMRA though, because they don't believe that there's anybody that age in model railroading. So.
I know. I didn't know. We didn't. I thought, you know what? I'll cut the kid a break. We won't go down that path.
Let him figure that out by himself later.
And you know what he did? He halfway through the interview, he's talking about. So I'm asking him questions. I'm asking him like, "Hey, how'd you start? Why'd you start this? How'd you start this? Yada yada yada." And he's telling me, and I said, "Oh yeah, okay." And he'd already interviewed Michelle Kempema, and I says, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "Who would you like to interview?" And he says, "Oh, I'd like to interview like somebody like Jason Schron." And I said, "Well, I can help you with that." And he says, "Oh, no way." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll help you with that." And then I said, and I said, "What about Tony Cook, the Model Railroad News?" He says, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And I said, "Yeah, you can. You know him?" I said, "Yeah, sort of." So we're going to hook him up with a whole bunch of people, and I'm going to help him get going. And then he was so excited about Jason Tron. He kept saying it. I kept saying it. And he has a Jason Tron counter. And we managed to say Jason's name 13 times in 30 minutes, which was pretty funny. And then after that, we got like 35 minutes or 30 minutes with our buddy Gordy Robinson.
Okay.
Who's going to run for president of the NMRA in the spring of 2021. So we had him on to explain to us why he's doing it and why we should vote for him and all sorts of other things. So I've decided that we should support Gordy. We should try to help him in this venture.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. I mean, he's so enthusiastic and he's done all that NMRA stuff. I thought, you know what? We ought to put the full force of the AML network behind him and see if we can't help him get across the finish line.
I agree.
Yeah.
There needs to be a change there. So
there needs to be a change. And I think actually Gordy is this is our moment to help the NMRA become what
they should be.
What they should be. Because he, as we explained in the interview, he lives on an island off the north of Scotland, but he's completely hooked up digitally and electronically. He's only 32. He's already proven that he's done a ton has done a ton and is going to do a ton for the NMRA. So I thought, man, that's perfect. We've already chewed up 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And then finally, we talked to Stephen Atwell of Midwest Model Railroad.
Okay.
And you know why we talked to him?
I think I do.
Yeah. I can actually tell you what day this is going to go out on. I actually know what day this is going out on. This right now is the 28th of September. Today is the 28th of September, if you're listening to it right off, hot off the press. And Stephen Atwell and the AML, the Midwest Model Railroad Company, and the AML Network, Modeler's Life, have combined forces so that Midwest Model Railroad can be the exclusive distributor of all AML merchandise.
Awesome.
It is.
That is an excellent partnership.
It is an excellent partnership. It's going to actually make us seem like a real show because they're
a stretch, but
yeah, because they're a real store. And Stephen and I were just talking one night. I don't know how we got on talking about it. And I said, I was talking about, maybe I should get some sponsors. But then the problem with sponsors is I got to do what they want, and that's really not my thing. And following rules really isn't I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's not. Although there are rules that some rules should be followed.
Some.
Yeah, some. And
like observing the speed limit.
Exactly. So then anyways, we got talking, blah, 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 back and forth. And then somehow we got talking about shirts. And I said, yeah, if I ever got anybody to sell my merchandise, I said, that'd be a no-brainer for them, because every time I did a podcast, I'd be like, and don't forget, if you want a T-shirt, just go to blah, blah, blah. And I actually think I said Midwest Model Railroad, and I think the light bulb went off for both of us at the same time. So it's a marriage of convenience. It's going to give
usually the best kind.
Yeah, and
something that mutually benefits both sides.
Exactly.
Always works out the best.
Yeah. And I mean, Midwest Model Railroad is a high-class operation. They have grown from the basement to 2,000 square feet, and now they're about to move into 9,000 square feet. So, and I hear
awesome.
and I hear nothing but good reports. So that's what we're doing. And I know a bunch of people have already bought stuff. So then we talk to them about that, and of course the store and all that stuff. And then that's it. That's the entire program. That is the entire lineup of the All-Star Variety Hour number 26. That's all I got, buddy.
It'll be fantastic.
It will be. It is. It will be. You don't hang up now. Don't turn us off. Rod Diary, don't turn it off now, buddy. You're just getting to the good part. The good part's just coming up. What did I say? What? Huh? What does that mean?
That it's the good part.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. You know what to do.
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
Subway chime, go.
Cool.
So, have we started already, or are we going to start?
I mean, I don't know. We'll just call it started.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're 15, did you say?
I'm 15, yeah.
All right. Well, and how'd you get started in the hobby?
So a lot of people started with the starter set, and I kind of did, but my uncle's a contractor, and he came across this guy he was doing a job for, and he had this piece of plywood with some cork road bed and some track on it. And my parents had told my grandfather, who's the contractor, that they were looking for something. So my grandfather asked the guy, he's like, "Oh, how much for it?" He said, "Free." So I got that for Christmas, and my parents thought that it would just be for maybe 6 months, and then I'd age out of it and they'd sell it. And
right.
Here we are 8 years later, and I'm still on the same table. It's just a lot nicer now.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I had an email from a couple of guys, John Caravelli, I think his name was, and they're both in their early 20s, like 22, 23. Mm-hmm. And I was excited to hear that they're listening to the podcast because, like you said, don't want just old grumpy guys listening to it.
Yeah. Because then it would be just like the forums. We need everybody in here.
Yeah, exactly. Like do you think this is a great question? Now tell me if I'm taking over, because if I am, you ask me whatever question you want and I'll stop asking you questions. But I think it's really cool that you contacted me, and I'm really excited to talk to you because it's fun talking to somebody younger.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you.
We don't want to always be talking to Kelly because he's just an old guy.
Gotta try something different every once in a while.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, and if I don't mention Kelly and everything, he gets pretty upset. So.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. I mean, he needs to be recognized.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So my question was going to be, I'm really fascinated with, and you probably heard me talk about it, I'm really excited about the fact that for guys your age and girls and guys your age, when I was 15, like my dad, took me to local club, and then he kind of got involved. So there was a couple of clubs we could be involved in and stuff, but you couldn't really connect with other people.
Uh-huh.
But nowadays, do you find it easy to find guys your age or people around your age?
To be honest, I know in my age, there's a friend I have in college.
Right.
And we keep in touch a lot, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. But do you find it easy to be involved in the hobby because of social media?
Absolutely. All the grown people, they're so accepting and they don't even question it. Like, it's very respect all around.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool. And then you can meet people all over the world doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Especially
cool.
with Zoom now.
I know, eh? Mm-hmm. Everything is so cool. Everything is so cool.
So what did you do before the podcast?
What did I do? How? Like, exactly?
Like in the hobby.
Oh, in the hobby? Well,
obviously you modeled, but I mean.
Yeah, well, I started out just like you. Like, I started out, my dad brought me trains for Christmas one year, old scale, 027 was called back then. And, I ran those for a while, and then he set up so that's like O gauge. So then he set up a 4x8 table, and then pretty quickly he turned that 4x8 table into an L shape, 2 pieces of 4x8 plywood. And I used to run those trains, man, over and over. I used to run them forever.
Wow.
And then he said, when we couldn't find a lot of extra stuff in O scale back then he introduced me to HO, and I actually so I'm from just north of Toronto.
Uh-huh.
And there was a very famous train store in Toronto called George's Trains that started in 63, 64. But my dad heard of him, and I went to visit George with my dad before he moved to George's Trains in his house. Okay. So I remember seeing a train go around the layout. And then, so I was in the hobby, and my dad was in it. We all through that. And then, of course, I did the cars and girls thing for a while. And then after I got married, I got back into it. And when I got back into it, it was just when Atlas introduced their first Atlas Cato Drive locomotive, an RS3. And it ran so good, I thought I died and got in heaven. It was like it ran so good. This Atlas Cato Drive RS3 ran so good.
Good to get rid of pancake motors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I started, we were in an apartment, and I built a little layout there. And then we moved to a house, and I built a layout there. The next layout I built in our first house, I actually hand screwed it together.
Okay.
It was a layout about probably 16 by 14 feet, and I hand screwed all the benchwork together.
Wow. You have like a little vise that you used, or was it really just
literally hand screwed the whole thing together? And then we moved again, and I forget what tools I used, and that was again probably about 14 by 16.
Okay.
And so I built, started another layout, and on that layout, I sent a picture to Model Railroader for trackside photos, and Andy Sprandio, who is I don't think he was the editor then, Russ Larson was the editor, sent me a rejection letter saying, thanks for sending in this photo, but there's not enough action. And I remember staring at this letter for a week thinking, action? It's a still photo. How can there be action in a still photo? Mm-hmm. And then I wrote back to him, and he explained, well, put some people in it, put some trains, put some stuff, try to create a scene. I went, oh, okay. So then I did that. And then we moved again into this where I'm living now. And I built this house. So I actually built one end of the basement.
Okay.
A 20 by 30 foot area. I actually put in steel beams and everything, so there'd be no columns. And I built the room with dividers and everything. And I built the room specifically for the layout.
That thing wasn't hand screwed, was it?
No. So so that's a good part of the story. So by then, it was right around then that I discovered these, power drills and stuff, DeWalt drills that had a power pack on them and everything. And I remember I was building the wall, I was putting the walls together, and I bought this thing, and it was like a 3-inch screw, and it went zzz, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. So I built that layout, and then in February of '94, so then I decided I wanted to be a model railroader. Mm-hmm. I would the best part of being in model railroader, being on the cover of Model Railroaders. So I submitted a story, and they took it. And from there, I ended up writing another feature article for them. Then they asked me if I'd be interested because I was pretty good at photography. Mm-hmm. So then they'd ask me if I'd be interested in doing photo, layout stories about other layouts. So I did one in Erie, Pennsylvania, and then I did the Pittsburgh Model Railroad Club in Gibsonia.
Oh, you were right by here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did that and a couple other things, and then they talked me into doing a project layout, which was really hard because it's really hard to build models on a schedule.
Exactly.
Right. So you're like
the way always.
Yeah, it's one thing to build them for yourself whenever you feel like it, but being given a schedule and a deadline is a lot harder building a layout. So then I did that. And then I gave them an idea for a column called "Working on the Railroad," which was in the late '90s. It started, and I did that for 8 years. Then I became a contributing editor. Then I kind of took a little bit of a break for a few years. Still had the layout and everything, and then I was on a podcast. My friend Bruce Wilson, Bruce the Moderately Agitated Mailboy, he talked me on to be in a podcast with a fellow named Tom Barbley, Model Rail Radio. And I went on there and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Then I got on there and I enjoyed listening to the sound of my own voice. And then I started the podcast because I thought, I'm going to try a podcast. So back in the 1960s and the early 70s, there was a guy named Jim Finley who used to write an article in Model Railroader called Letters from Jim.
Yeah.
And it was all about this guy who was in the service in South Korea. It was all about what it was like to build a model railroad layout in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't just about building the layout. It was about what it was like to live in South Korea and try to build a layout and get the supplies and all the craziness that went with that. And they were just really entertaining. So one day when I was on the Model Rail Radio, there was a guy on there named Terry Terrence who was talking about some electrical thing. And he says, and I said, well, how did you design that? Tom Barbley is very good about letting everybody speak up. So I said, well, how did you manage to figure that out? And he goes, well, I was one of the guys that designed the cockpit for Black Hawk helicopters. And I'm like, whoa, let's back that bus up a couple of stops. So then I got the idea of let's have a podcast about model railroading, but about the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's as much about you as it is about model railroading, because really, when you think about it, that's the most fun is all the people you meet along the way.
Absolutely. There's too many people that just make podcasts about ditch lights now.
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta, it's interesting to find out about people and where they live and how they get started. And like you, like what grade are you in?
I'm a sophomore in high school.
Okay. Now, what do you plan on doing after high school?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, that's a good plan.
Yeah. Where life takes me.
So what?
God take the wheel.
What things do you like to model?
I'm always transition era, and I'm very non-committal. I'm like the one Pennsylvania Railroad area modeler who doesn't have any Pennsylvania locomotives. I mean, I keep saying that I'm not a Union Pacific guy, and yet I have like 3 Union Pacific engines. I'm not as focused as I should be. So.
Right. Okay. And how did you end up deciding to model the transition era?
I just wanted both steam and diesel. So
okay,
you gotta.
Yeah, I think
get them all there.
Yeah, there's a lot of young guys that are interested in, and girls, and that are interested in steam and diesel. Like I was never that interested in steam. I was always like the mid-60s kind of guy, just after transition era. But there's a lot of people that are interested in that era of the steam, including the steam as well as diesel.
That's what you hear a lot of people, like on your podcast. When I forget how long ago this was, but I remember Jason Tron talking about how, if he's listening, just let him know that I want to interview him too.
I'll get working on that. I'll make that a priority.
Oh God, actually?
I will for sure. If you really want to get Jason Tron, I'll get you Jason. I will work on Jason, but you also want to talk to Jordan Smith, who walks. Those guys will want to talk to you.
Okay. Honestly, thank you so much.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Okay, but he's saying that the market for steam is dying out, and I feel like it is in the generation above the young generation, right. But I feel like the young generation has an interest in steam.
Okay.
A lot more than people realize.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So like you're saying, the generation, the 30s and 40 guys, that kind of generation up there is not as interested as the younger people like yourself. That makes a lot of sense because our guy, George, George, the Wonder Boy, who he's 27, 20. I think he said 28. George, I don't exactly remember. The FedEx driver guy, but he's really interested in steam.
Because the young generation grew up with the tourist railroads that ran the steam engines. So all of us just got fascinated with that.
I love that. That's a great analogy. The young generation grew up with the tourist railroads that run steam engines. I love that. That's a great analogy. Holy mackerel, you're going to have to be on the podcast again.
I'm ready. So can
go
I
ahead.
ask one more question specific to you?
All right.
What do you do to choose guests? Is it like I do where I'm like, hey, that'll be fun. Let's just do that. Or is it a bit more organized?
Organization isn't really my thing.
I get that.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a lot of it lately is people that write in and you're going, so this person took the time out to write in. So then I try to investigate everybody that writes in, and there's a list of people, to talk to from that. That's how I ended up talking to Dave Abelese because he wrote in, and Nick Santo from Nick's Trains, he wrote in. So we ended up, those are just ones and there's a couple other fellas now I'm on our last viewer mail that I want to talk to. So that's one way, because if somebody's excited enough to write in to the show, well, then you're like, okay, well, and then check Serge LaBelle. That's a great interview that's coming up in about a month and a half.
Uh-huh.
He's a fellow that lives way out in Quebec, just almost towards the end of the St. Lawrence River. And he's a locomotive engineer for the Quebec North Shore and Labrador.
Okay.
And he's building this huge beautiful O-scale layout, which is really, really neat. So he's another one that I got through him contacting me. And so that's one way. And the other way is, just kind of people I know, but then I will talk to one person and he'll tell me about somebody else. And then, somebody else will tell me about somebody else. So it's more about what I'm interested in.
Okay.
Like it was, so, like I'm thinking, I got to get down because Jason Schron's factory or offices aren't that far from me. So I thought, I got to get down there and talk to him, or Tim Morris, who owns Fast Tracks. He only lives a couple hours from me. So, I talked to him. Mm-hmm. But then let's see who's on my list right now. I got a list of.
I completely wouldn't expect it to be like this. In my head, I always thought like you had some like master plan about how you just chose people, but nope. Just what do I want to do?
Yeah, and you're looking for enthusiastic people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've done how many interviews have you done so far?
4.
4, okay.
3.5, because I tried to talk to Harrison from SMT Trains, and he was quarantining in the countryside, so his Wi-Fi was really bad, and he kept freezing up.
All right. Well, we gotta hook you up with Jason Schron.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
I will help you, and and anybody else you think you want to talk to, I'll help you get hooked up with them, because it's really fun to have a young guy like you doing this. I'll help you as much as I can.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That would be a great interview. You talking to Jason Schron. I'm definitely working on that. I'll start working on that tomorrow.
Zooming it out. So
yeah, I was just trying to think who else could. Hey, Scott Thornton from Proto Throttle.
Oh yeah,
he'd love to talk to you. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of people that would like to talk to you. Kaylee Zhang, who's you've heard her on our podcast. Yeah. Pretty much anybody that's been on our podcast that's a regular would love to talk to you. Kevin Marks and Mike Ostertag, who's a locomotive engineer, and everybody would probably be you'd be able to get them on, and plus lots of other people. I'll help you out there.
Okay, thank you.
How often do you do this? Like, how often have you got some sort of a schedule, or?
So I do this under my club's name,
right?
On YouTube. And to be honest, I kind of just do this when I feel like it. Like, I really spend maybe a couple hours on this each week.
Right.
And I did a couple interviews to start out, and I'm like, I just want to see how they get accepted before I do more. And everybody was kind of like, hey, this is something cool. I liked it. And I'm like, well, that's all the positive feedback I need. So
yeah. No, I'll help you as much as I can. That'd be fun. Because you know what? You're doing exactly what you have to do to either do a podcast or a YouTube interview. You're speaking up. Your audio is good. And, you're enthusiastic. You got those 3 things, you're off to the races.
Honestly, this is my computer microphone, so.
It's a good microphone.
Thank you.
And you must have good internet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're speaking up, though. See, you're speaking up and you're speaking clearly, which makes a big difference.
It's going to help me out.
Yeah. You're going to do well in life, young man. I can tell that already.
Thanks.
So you're modeling transition era. You're thinking, so do you feel like you're a Union Pacific guy, or do you feel like, just buying that for now, or?
Yeah, that's what I feel like. Everything. I just love the look of like the West Coast stuff. And I'm like, I'll just buy this and I'll run it sometimes.
Right.
But then over half of my fleet is stuff that doesn't belong in Pennsylvania territory. We'll see what's happening.
And how many people are in this club?
I'm going to give you an answer, and then somebody's going to email me and be like, well, actually, it's probably around 20, 25 guys.
Okay. And is there a permanent layout?
Yeah, we have, there's a business park, and we have, I wouldn't call it an attic, but there's a spiral staircase to get to it. We have rent of $1 a year.
Oh.
And we get a huge space. It's double decker, all of it against the walls, and there's a back room with a huge helix.
And what's the club called again?
The Northern Delaware Model Railroad Club.
Oh, yeah, man, you guys are a going concern here.
Yeah.
Look at that. Holy mackerel. Do you know how old the club is?
It's definitely since like 2000. So I think it's a little over 20 years that the layout's been progressing.
Cool. And you do operating sessions?
So the layout, and again, there's probably guys who are going to email me like, you should have said this. You should have said this. But
well, you know what? We'll tell those guys that you'll be on again, and then you can say what.
Yeah, I can correct everything I said. We're just going to have to talk a second time.
Yeah.
So the layout kind of, after 20 years, a lot of things happen in just nature. So things get weathered, things get worn. So a lot of the track work needed work. And there were a lot of new members who came in. Everybody helped.
Sure, yeah.
There was a lot of new talent that came in and helped. So all the wiring is pretty much redone. And we had our first operating sessions last winter. And we were really going at it until coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly. And how much does it cost to belong to the club?
Like $100 a year, give or take.
Right. I'm doing this for my podcast now because I'm going to put this on somewhere. So the actual website is Nordel, Nordel, model RR.
.org, yep.
.org. And you know why it's .org, eh?
Organization?
Yeah, because you're organized.
Oh, look at that.
That originally came from our buddy Shane the Young Gun Mason.
Okay.
Well, you know, another guy it would be cool for you to interview would be Tony Cook, the editor of Model Railroad News.
Oh, I don't think I could.
Why not?
That's what I was hesitant to reach out to Jason Schron and to people like that because I just feel like they're super huge. Like they're the biggest people. I don't know. I just didn't.
No, Tony Cook, you would really enjoy talking to him. And another guy that would be fun to talk to for you would be the editor of RMC, Railroad Model Craftsman, Otto Vondrack. I'm going to help you. You tell me when I'll help you get some people on here and so you can have some fun.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, you're a fine young man, so I'm enjoying this quite a bit.
Me too.
Got any more questions for me?
A few. Okay.
Okay, go.
So, shoot. Has there ever been an interview that you thought was going to be great, and then as soon as you started talking to the person, you're like, this just isn't going to go well?
Yes, there has been a couple of those. I don't think I should say the names because
no names, but
yes, there was one or two fellas, probably three or four over the time where you're going, oh man, this is going to be great talking to this fella. And one fella in particular, it's very informative, but his answers are really short.
Oh.
And so it's like, so you're constantly, like a lot of people have conversations like you and I are doing right now. Mm-hmm. Most people are like that, but there's three or four people where they're waiting for the questions, and then you ask them the question, and then they'll give you like a minute long answer or 30-second answer. Then you got to move on to the next question, and you pretty quickly are running out of questions.
I know. I always have a list for backup, but I can imagine the stress when somebody just gives you these straightforward answers and you run out of questions.
Yeah, exactly. And I try to
episode.
Yeah. And, I try to, if you can get somebody talking about something, like
forever,
Yeah, exactly. Like just asking you when you model and then you go, well, transition, but I like Union Pacific. And then you can get a conversation going about that. And you just keep going and going, Next.
Yeah. So what's the best interview you've ever done?
The best interview, I think most people would agree. Well, the one of the interviews I really enjoyed was a guy that just recently, David Hyde, who is the lead horn for the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. He was he met me in Springfield, and he was very accommodating, and he spoke up, and he had a really interesting story because he works at the Dallas Symphony Orchestra as a musician, and also he's an avid model railroader. Mm-hmm. And Dave Abelese is really interesting. Joe D'Amato. Yeah. Jason Tron, I think, has been the most popular interview I've ever done. And I was really excited about that because I did that with my portable recorder. Mm-hmm. And I had the chance to buy a couple of really high quality handheld mics that were on sale. So I thought the sound of that and the audio quality was spectacular.
It was great. Yeah.
and he was very forthcoming. So yeah, Jason Tron was great, and all our Rapido people were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of people.
That was a great episode.
It was a great episode. Yeah. It really was. Next.
So obviously Zoom's kind of been a blessing, but how has COVID affected the podcast? Everything that you're doing?
Let me see. How has COVID affected the podcast? I would have to say, well, I guess the one way it's affected the podcast is we couldn't have our barbecue, our AML barbecue. Yeah. I can't get out and easily interview people like I could before, which is, so there's always the interviews that I do from here, from the studio. Yeah. But I always was able to, go out and interview this fella or that person, or I'd go to, an RPM meet and there'd be, a couple of days worth of interviews there. So I kind of miss out on that. And the first incident of that was the Northeast RPM meet, NRPM, excuse me. That was the May 31st. So I missed out on that. So that would have been a ton of interviews there. Mm-hmm. So that, and then after that would have been the AML barbecue. And we missed out on that. So we didn't get to do any interviews there. So that's where I find it's, there's none of that stuff to mix in with the regular stuff. So yeah, I'd say that was the biggest thing that's been the problem that I'm disappointed in, like everybody else, but it is what it is.
Do you know how to extend a Zoom? So you've developed like relationships with all these companies, like Rapido, obviously, Iowa Scaled Engineering. There was Prototype Model Works. I probably got that name wrong, but it was something like that. Where do you see these relationships going? That's probably a very odd question with not a very specific answer, but
it's a pretty good question. I like that question because I do see these relationships going somewhere, because the thing I like the most is there's been podcasts that came ahead of me for sure, but I think my podcast has kind of hit a sweet spot. And so I'm having a lot of fun dealing with the manufacturers. And what I see happening is, as time goes along, is they're going to get more and more relaxed and like having me come around. Not that they didn't, but they're going to be more relaxed. Like I noticed with Jason Tron, that was his second interview.
Yeah.
And he was much more relaxed the second time than the first time. And I thought he was very forthcoming, which made a great interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see the relationship being that they're going to be glad that they're going to be happy that I say, hey, let's do another interview. Like they're going to be anxious to be on the podcast.
Okay.
To help get their word out, their message out.
Yeah. I can't wait for a company to announce a product on the podcast. It's going to happen one day.
That's why you're going to have to interview Tony Cook of Model Railroad News, because he knows tons of stuff. Another good guy is Rob Arsenault from weathermytrains.com. He's excited. There's a ton of people for you to interview.
Before we leave, so there's always this outro that we do on the interviews. And so it started with John and Batacola, and I want to make it a tradition. You hold up your thumbs up so it's just out of the frame, so they don't know what finger it is. No, you hold it so it's out of the frame. No, yeah. So it's just your I'm looking at it a different camera. So you hold your thumb up. So it's just, you put your fist below, so it just looks like your finger.
Okay. I got it.
Right before anything happens, you pull it up. It's not the middle finger.
I get you. All
right.
All right.
3, 2, 1. It's not the middle finger. That's so awkward, but I want to get that to.
Yeah, I get that. I like that. And the more you do it, the more people see it, the more they'll know what you want. Yeah, I like that. Bruce.
Lionel.
Bruce.
Lionel.
Bruce. Hey, Donna.
Hey, goodbye.
Yeah, that's a good song. Montreal Canadiens. So this is another segment. I think this is going to be like 35 minutes.
Yet another segment?
This is yet another segment.
We're going to be like Grapefruit. We have got so many segments going.
I think this is the second segment of a program that includes the young Drew Warrington, who's a young guy that's trying to get his YouTube channel going. So we're all about supporting him. And then we're going to talk to Gordy Robinson here. And then the last one is all about talking to Stephen Atwell, the owner of Midwest Model Railroad. And do you know why we were talking to him?
I do, because I was there.
Yeah, because we now have the official AML merchandise shop is there. And people have been buying.
Or in English, the merchandise shop.
Yeah.
Get your merch. Get your merch. That's what all the hip kids say. Get your merch.
Yeah, get your merch from the AML shop at the Midwest Model Railroad. That's pretty cool, eh, Gordy?
Oh, yeah. Get your swag.
Get your swag from Midwest Model, the AML shop at the Midwest Model Railroad store. One of the best online stores on the entire intranet. We're still pals with Chris Brimley over there at Train Life. They're cool cats too, but we're particularly partial to Midwest Model Railroad, and everybody I've ever talked to says they're getting their orders out is spectacular. So that's what we're doing. So, anyways, what we're doing right now is we're going to talk to our buddy Gordy Robinson, who is in Orkney, Scotland, on the island of Burray, Burray. And he's going to run for president of the NMRA.
Yes.
In the spring of 2021.
Yes.
Now, Gordy, are you going to be able to fix the whole COVID problem?
No. Not all of it.
So, Gordy, why are you doing this? What exactly is going on here?
So... it's a whirlwind. No, why am I doing this? Because I think we need to have a younger, different demographic leading our organization. We need to have more people involved. Certainly, people like myself who've got the skills and the ability and the time to get involved. Should be giving something back, and there's no better way really to give something back than to step up and run for an office and put the work in, put those hours in. I mean, I already do put in a significant amount of hours for the NMRA anyway, but I just think that it can help a lot more if I was in that seat, so to speak.
So, what are you already doing that you think that you're already helping? Give me a hint. Like just
give me a hint.
Just buying me a donut or buying me a beer at Hooters at Springfield is not helping the NMRA specifically.
No, it's not. So, at national level already, I've been working with the social media team as that team's grown out since the Florida convention in 2017. During a modeling with a master's clinic, I was given the keys to all of the Facebook and all that stuff, and I've been doing it ever since. So if you see posts in the last 3 years of conventions and in between on the Facebook page, it's usually one that I've put out or Christina, but I do a lot there. That's kind of not a job that you can go and do a couple of hours and put down. That's a 24/7 commitment, and I've had that commitment now for over 3 years. I also was behind the launch of NMRAX. It was my idea. I put it out there with the help of Marty, Brad, and Speed, and a few others. But those three guys have been there right from the beginning, putting in the long hours. We did that. I jotted it up today. That's done 178 hours of content for free to the world, to model railroaders during this some really bad times, some dark times at the moment. 135 clinicians, and we haven't finished it. It continues. So NMRX continues to grow, and we've got some really good ideas there that will continue through the fall into the winter. So that's the kind of stuff I do at national level. I also have been involved in projects at the board level, working on content management for the website. I helped be on a committee for that with Jerry Leone, who's the current vice president of special projects, and Christina, to look at how we can manage the website content and the NMRA created a role which they've been unable to fill at national level as a website content manager kind of role, and it may well be that needs to have some money put behind it to resolve that. But yeah, I've worked at that kind of board level without being a board member. Worked at and volunteered at national level and put in a significant amount of hours. And then, more locally and regional level, in the British region, I've been the media, also could call that marketing person, for the past couple of years. I'm the division equivalent, a division rep, which is kind of equivalent of a division super for the whole of Scotland. It's all one division, the whole country. And I also coordinate events in the British region as well. So I organised last year's regional convention. I build tools for us to do regional events. So one of the tools that I built was a regional website for conventions, which people can reuse, and that also has a PayPal registration and all that kind of stuff all tied in, because those are my skills. So I did that as well. So I maintain that. I also in the British region facilitate what we call a brew and natter meeting, which is kind of a meeting that's not clinics. It's a meeting with no agenda that takes place every couple of weeks, and that's because quite a lot of people during the COVID pandemic in the UK of a certain age or certain medical conditions were told that they had to stay at home. And for a lot of our members who were unfortunately widowed or single, that meant being at home on their own with no opportunity to speak to anybody or to get the opportunity to socialize. So I set that up, and that's been adopted by the British region now. So twice a month we get together and allow our members to just openly talk about any topic that they want. And so I'm already extremely busy with the NMRA and kind of everything that I do.
So why,
Gordy, you said you had 178 hours of NMRAX content out now?
Yeah, that's unique content, so that's not counting anything that was repeated. That's all
right. And how many or what's the reach on that? Because I know when they were ongoing, there's a lot of times there'd be between 200 and 300 people watching a clinic on the 24-hour one, and then what I saw the numbers on the virtual convention were good. But do we have an idea of how many total interactions you've been with that so far?
So I kind of can give you some ballpark figures. I can't give you a precise number. I can tell you that it's in the tens of thousands, of in terms of reach. You're probably over 100,000 people have seen or consumed some of the NMRAX content. In terms of views during an event, we're getting easily 2,000 to 3,000 live views during an event. And then, the most recent event we did, I think 72 hours after, the videos were up to like 10,000 views. And we did the SCRX convention and it was like 24,000 views like a week later. So it's reaching a lot more people than there are members of the NMRA, and that tells its own story, really. But it's huge. It should not be underestimated.
Yeah, and I think another positive thing, you being on the NMRA social media, there's been quite a number of comments on the various pages associated with the NMRA that this is what I really enjoyed, and therefore I'm joining the NMRA. So I think that way it's a definite plus by having an increase in membership.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the main things I was concerned about this year is I could see the writing on the wall when I came back from Springfield and was flying back in the end of January, or it was early February, end of January time. I could see the writing was on the wall. I was seeing the people coming off the flights from Asia, all masked up, looking like they'd just come out of an operating theatre. And, it could sell we were going to lose a lot. Could see we were going to lose a lot of regional conventions, and the national convention that I could see in January wasn't going to happen. And so that's obviously a big opportunity for recruitment and all the train shows as well. So I think, what I would have expected to see this year is a dip, a cliff face of drop off in membership for the NMRA, and that's just not what they've seen. They've seen a sustainment in membership. I'm not saying it's all down to NMRAX. I'm not. That would be, just false to claim that. But you're right. A significant number of people have said they're joining the NMRA because of NMRAX, and they're joining the NMRA or rejoining the NMRA, which is even better. And unsurprisingly, the feedback I get from a lot of modelers who are still at work, still working, still with a family, is that certain things that we do in the NMRA, our meeting times, are just not convenient to somebody who's working, who has a family, who works weekends, whatever reason. And the virtual and digital stuff that regions and divisions have done, and I kind of glossed over that maybe, but I've done a lot to help a lot of regions and divisions in the last 6 months to go digital, whether that's providing, free consultancy to help them, or physically setting up WebEx meetings or Zoom meetings for them, whatever it's taken to help them get that live, because what they've then seen is members reconnect with their local division that they've not seen for years. They thought had stepped away from the hobby, and they've not stepped away from the hobby. They've stepped away from the NMRA, and they've stepped away from the NMRA because we weren't meeting their need. And as an organization, we need to sit there and say, we need to just look ourselves in the face and go, we've got less than 20,000 members of a hobby that's in the hundreds and millions of, hundreds of thousands of millions of people who enjoy our hobby around the world, and we're in the we've got less than 20,000 members. So there's a vast majority of people there that we're just not connecting with, and that's what you see from NMRX is that reconnection with the modelers for the organization. And
and there have been, I've seen comments, a number of divisions, they're saying they're getting more of their members interacting now, doing a virtual meeting than they would ever have imagined doing a in-person type meeting.
Absolutely, and it's the same in the British region. We've seen that. We've seen that. I mean, if I just let me just run through a typical week for me right now. Typical week on my lunch times. I work from home, and so to take a bit of a break from work at lunchtime, I jump on a call with the guys in Australia. Every Wednesday, I take part in a round robin chat, even if it's just for 10 minutes, with a group of modelers in Queensland in Eastern Australia. They have a weekly meet up together. On a Saturday, on a Friday and a Saturday evening, I'm usually meeting with members in the States, and even, well, hang on, I just skipped over a few things. I'm doing remote operating sessions with on a layout in Texas on a Wednesday in the middle of my night, and on a Saturday morning. Of course, every other Saturday we've got the British Region Brew and Natter and catching up with members there, and then it's all the emails and phone calls. I've written a number of articles, spoke to a number of people, supported people, even offered. There's somebody at the moment that I'm just keeping an eye on who I know desperately wanted to be an NMRA member and managed to get the money to be there and to do his rail pass. And if at the end of the rail pass he hasn't got the money to be a member, or because of his budgetary constraints, or he's lost, he's still struggling, I've already offered to just pay his membership out of my own pocket, because that's what this is all about, and people need to just be a bit more kind to other people and help each other out, and that's what you're seeing through this through the digital transformation that the hobby's gone through, and I think, we need to change, and we need to recognize that. But yeah, you're right, Bruce. I mean, people are connecting more than they ever have. I've put out an article that's been shared in a number of different regional magazines that I've never been this busy, and I love it. It's absolutely fantastic, and nothing's being neglected at home. It's just as busy home life as it always has. I've got a toddler that's 20 months old, and she keeps me busy. And I do my modeling when I can, and around all this other stuff. But the people that I speak to, and the tips and advice, and the things that I've tried out during this period, because I'm now more connected with people that are doing different things in the hobby, it's just fantastic. And I don't think it'll ever go. Oh, I hope it won't ever go back to the way it was. I don't think it can do now. I think the genie's out the bottle, and people are well and truly out their basements at this point, 6 months into this.
Oh, I totally agree there. It's like the old saying, you can't keep them down on the farm once you've seen the big city lights. Well, with the first 24-hour NMREX event you did, that opened everybody's eyes, and like you say, yeah, the cork or the genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back in.
No, absolutely not.
So let me ask you two questions. Number one, is this just like a kind of a pipe dream, like you're just saying you're going to run for president, or have you actually done whatever it is you're supposed to do to get on the ballot, or you're still just kind of thinking about it?
So yeah, it was confirmed yesterday that my name will be on the ballot. We could have done that through the appointment committee in the UK, which is separate from the appointments committee in the US. But I chose not to do that because I felt it was important that, to make sure that there was support there for a younger candidate because I'm half the age of the current board members. So we did that by petition. We had to do that twice because the NMRA legal counsel wasn't happy with the way we did the petition the first time. So of that, I can tell you, combined total of both, it's over 170 members have said that they would like to see my name on that ballot, which is very humbling. And so, yeah, my name's definitely there. I don't know who the other candidates are. It's still open for a few more months yet. So
nominations close the end of October, I believe.
So and let's make sure we make a point of saying that anybody else that wants to be interviewed that's running for president, we're more than happy to have them here on the podcast. Just contact the podcast, and we'll. What's the email address, Bruce?
Our email address is modlerslife, modlers with one L, modlerslife@gmail.com.
Yeah,
or you can go to our Facebook page, Modlers Life, and click on my happy smiling face and send an email.
Yeah, there's a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, and if you just click on that picture. So if you're running for president of the NMRA and you want your fair turn here on the podcast, just let us know. So you say you got like 170 people. Like, what did that take you? Like over a month or something to get that many people to sign up to support you, or how long did that take?
Oh God, no. We're talking about 10 days total to get that.
Really? That's all?
Yeah.
So, and that's from around the world, right?
It was all 18 regions of the NMRA represented more than once, and every country where the NMRA has a presence. Yeah.
So how do you vote exactly?
So it's kind of different where you are, but let's just focus on North America because that's where the majority of the members are. So in the springtime, kind of just at the end of winter, there'll be notice in the NMRA magazine that the election will be held, and then there'll be a ballot printed there that you can photocopy and actually mail into the NMRA if you wish. But they generally in the US will send all members who have an email address on file. So if you receive the e-bulletin or the turntable, which is the NMRA's monthly e-publications, you will get the email, and it'll be an e-ballot, and you'll go there and choose your candidates. There's the different people will get a different ballot because there are other roles available on the board of directors. So there's a few different roles that are available in North America. Pacific Director, I think, is one of them, and also
Gordy, just to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry. Up on this ballot are President, Vice President, the at-large North American Director, Eastern District Director, and Pacific District Director. So depending on where you live, you'll get a different ballot. But everybody who's an NMRA member will be able to vote for the president and vice president. And depending on where you live, you get to vote for one of the other three positions.
Perfect. You said that better than me, Bruce. Yeah, it was absolutely spot on.
So are you looking to change the NMRA, take it in a whole different direction, or what?
I'm not looking to. I'm not looking here to come on and have a October revolution. That's not my intention. Of course, the president's one role of many, but it is a senior leadership role, and of course, I have things operationally that I would like to see changed in the NMRA, or at least reevaluated. I think the organization knows it needs to change. I just don't think it knows how to, and I think that's what's important, and finding the best people that we have out there to come in and help the organization to change and adapt as the world changes and adapts. And I think just having a different perspective. There's a lot of modelers in the world. There are a lot of modelers who are my age. I'm 33. There's a lot of modelers in their 40s, in the 50s, and in the 20s, all ages. But the NMRA demographic doesn't represent that. And that's not because people don't have money. That's not because of people having time or not having time. You know, if people reflect and think, well, when did I join the NMRA? Most of the people join the NMRA under 40 and either left and came back or sustained. And so, but we're not seeing that. And if we don't change that, and go back to how it was when we joined the NMRA, then we won't have an NMRA. It's not that the hobby is dying; it's that we are not meeting the needs as we're not adapting as we go forward. And so, yeah, of course, I want to make some changes, but there's just some soft changes that we could make. That we could just some soft changes, and I'm sure I'll come back on and I'll be able to talk about these a bit more. I don't want to say too much at this point, but there are some soft changes there that I feel can be made to the way we interact with members, to the way that we listen to members, to the way that members are, and well, not just members, but regions, divisions, and special interest groups are supported from a national perspective to grow. Because ultimately that benefits the whole organization, that I think can be made without making any radical, huge step changes. Just simple changes to the way that we operate, the way that we speak to people, the way that we communicate messages, and it'll make the world a difference.
Very cool. I'm pretty excited about the fact that a young guy wants to try to be president of the NMRA. I think so long as you don't try to change the world, right? And you just want to try to be a young voice on the board, I think that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, I see it as nothing but a positive, really. And you've proven with the NMRAX, it doesn't matter where you live, because as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm coming to visit you within the next couple of years, as far as I'm concerned, you live on a rock on the North Atlantic, just south of the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, it's interesting. Brad lives in Australia, helps with the NMRAX, and Brad's told his kids that I live in the North Pole.
I laugh.
The direct line of the big guy.
So in reality, though, I finally figured out it's going to be a fun trip to come see you. Do they have hard cider in Orkney?
We just call that cider, but yes.
Okay, cool. I'm having one now, as a matter of fact. If you try to go to your local beer store, I've bought every can of Somersby hard cider within 102-mile radius of our home.
Okay. But they'll probably have it on Manitoulin Island or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's. I will describe where you live, and you tell me how far off I am. So Gordy lives in Scotland. And he lives off the coast of Scotland, on the north of Scotland, in a series of islands that collectively are called Orkney, but each island has its own individual name, and the island you live on is called Burray.
Yeah, perfect.
Wow, look at me go. So how far is it as the crow flies to say Edinburgh, Scotland, which is a town people would recognize, the name of a town people would recognize?
Okay, yeah, so we are about, I'd say it's about 300 miles north of Edinburgh, and it's a 7-hour drive that involves, obviously, a boat.
So how can you possibly be the president of the NMRA if you live there?
Well, so I live here, and I work for a global company that's headquartered in Orkney. In a senior management role, and I work with recruitment companies across the world in New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Europe, and North America, and we don't seem to have a problem having grown a business from nothing to being a huge global business in under 5 years. So I don't think that the geography is a blocker. Certainly people that work with me know that isn't a blocker, because if you need me to be on the phone at 7 o'clock Eastern or 7 o'clock Pacific in the evening, I'll be on the phone, and I will deal with you. And if you want to phone me up, you can phone me up. So I don't think it's a problem. I think the world's moved on, and the way that we can communicate now, if you're speaking to your friends in your model railroad club on Zoom or Skype, there's no difference between me speaking to the people involved in the operations of the NMRA using exactly the same technology. Obviously, the face-to-face interaction is important, and I spend when we're able to travel, I do spend quite a lot of time in North America, and whenever I do business trips, I always try to make sure that the NMRA obviously doesn't pay for me at the moment because I'm just a normal average member, but I try to make sure that it doesn't cost the NMRA or anybody any money, and I go and attend as many regional and divisional events wherever I am in America or Canada that I can, because it's good to go and learn from other people and to see all the good work that's going on there. So Lionel, I don't think it's a problem. How do you run a global podcast from Barrie, Ontario?
Exactly. I don't think it's a problem either, but we need to make sure we address that those who are concerned that it is, because really the only main event you need to get to if you're going to represent the NMRA is the National Convention. I mean, that's an event you should probably say that you're committed to, because if you're the president of the NMRA, you should probably be at their National Convention. But in today's world, you can run anything if you truly want to be a global organization like the NMRA claims it wants to be. You can run anything from pretty much anywhere. So
absolutely, and we should be looking for the best people anywhere to help run the organization.
And look, well, that's how you did the NMRAX. The four main guys running the NMRAX, and at the beginning you had Jordan Kramer helping you, but the four main guys over the last little bit have been you in the Orkney in the north of Scotland. Martin Jenkins, who's basically dead weight, but you include him in the group, and he lives in Brisbane, Australia, on the eastern shore of Australia, the continent of Australia. And then Brad Anderson lives south of him, does he not, in Queensland?
Wrong way around, yeah. Martin's in Queensland, in the Gold Coast, just south of Brisbane, and Brad lives in New South Wales, in rural New South Wales, in a place called Lismore. So, yeah, it's about 4 hours south of Brisbane. So it's yeah.
And then you have Speed Muller, our buddy Speed Muller, who lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I've watched you four guys working together, and it's like it's nothing for you. You guys are working together like as if you're sitting in the same room. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's the new world, Bruce.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I'll totally agree that watching these guys do what they do is amazing. I hosted some of the clinics for the NMRAX convention back in July, and seeing what's going on behind the scenes of all these guys, it just blows your mind. If you knew everything that was going on, you'd be, you see what you see is the product going out is amazing, but it's even more amazing seeing how it gets done.
Yeah, it's very quality what they did. So okay. So this is our first get together. Your name is already legally submitted and will be on the ballot for sure for NMRA president. You're young blood. You're willing to talk to any. How would a possible voting member contact you if they had questions?
So I'm on Facebook, but if you're not on Facebook, you can contact me. I'm not allowed to use, I do have an NMRA email address, but I'm not allowed to use it for this purpose. So you can contact me on my personal email address, which is Gordon Robinson, Gordon, Robinson, 80 at hotmail.com or gmail.com. There's two and it works the same. I don't mind speaking to any members. My email address, actually, when the candidate statements go out, I always make sure, for some reason other people don't do this, but I always make sure my email address is on the bottom of there so that people can contact me and speak to me and ask me questions, which last time I was on the ballot for Large Worldwide Director, a lot of people did, and I'll always give people the time. And if I was elected, I would do the same thing. I would like to see, Lionel, that I would be probably doing, you'd probably see me doing some Facebook Lives and different things with giving members the opportunity to come and ask questions and give advice and to share their ideas. So, yeah, by all means, people, please get in touch, ask me questions, give me advice, tell me what you'd like to see, and we'll see what we can do.
Bruce, we try to be we try to be transparent here at the old AML Network.
Yes.
Do we not?
Yes.
So let's tell everybody that at first I wasn't opposed to Gordy being president. I just wasn't very interested. And then I started thinking to myself, a couple of 3-4 weeks ago, I started thinking to myself, you know what? This is the NMRA's moment. This is a guy that has proven to anybody that's involved with the NMRA that he wants to give his heart and soul to the NMRA. He proved that through NMRAX. I know he's been heavily involved with the social media team for the last 3 years. But this, to me, seems like our moment in the NMRA. This is our chance to not necessarily point it in a different direction, but it's our chance to give people under the age of 50 a voice. Does that make sense?
Well, I would agree with that, but also I think it is a chance to get it going in a bit different direction because things have changed, and the NMRA's got to change and keep up with things, or it's going to become irrelevant. And by embracing the new technology and embracing younger members, we know there's piles of young people involved in model railroading out there. Like how many we talk to on the podcast or run across on Facebook or YouTube, things like that. There's a whole big area that's being untapped and unserved, and I think if they can make some changes, they can tap into that and grow the association.
Yeah, they can absolutely. This is it. This is our moment. This is the NMRA's moment, and we are here to, like I said, if you are running for president or any member of the board, any member position on the board, we're more than happy to talk to you here on the old AML. But me personally, I won't say that the podcast is, because the podcast speaks for a lot of people. Ken Zieska, this is our moment, buddy. I know you're listening. Ken Zieska, you keep saying that we're influencers here at the old AML. This is our moment. You got to jump on board with this, Ken, and help us out. So me personally, I'm throwing my support behind Gordy. And I won't speak for all the other regulars of the AML. I'll give them their chance to say that. But I think this is our chance to really improve the NMRA. It's our chance to show every member of the NMRA or anybody or any potential member of the NMRA that it's a very open-minded organization that is willing to listen to people who don't necessarily live in the lower 48. They're not necessarily older people or older gentlemen or whatever. We're willing to listen and include. This is like a club that includes a teenager. This is the opportunity for the NMRA to prove that anybody has a chance to be president of the NMRA.
Yeah, and I think it's also part. You and I've had this discussion many times over the years. Is that I'm an NMRA life member, have been since '84. You've been a member a fair number of years, and neither of us want to see the NMRA fail. We want to see this organization continue to prosper and flourish and be a voice in the hobby. We don't want to see go by the website. There's a lot of good things that the NMRA does. It just we want to see it be a success.
That's right. We do not want to see the NMRA disappear. Even though I bitch and moan, I'm willing to admit I bitch and moan about the board of directors of BOD. But I personally believe at the grassroots level, the NMRA flourishes, and it's just got a whole pile of really solid members that really want the thing to work. And I see Gordy as the guy that be at the tip of the iceberg at the front of the boat, steering us in the right direction. And I think we're done. For now. We're done for now.
Done for now. We'll be back.
Hey, Gordy, have you gone over to the Midwest Model Railroad site and ordered a T-shirt yet?
No, but I will do that. I did see them the other day.
Yeah, you'd look good in one of their T-shirts. One of our T-shirts from the Midwest Model Railroad shop in Independence, Missouri. Owned by Stephen Atwell.
I think if you look particularly good in one of the Fighting Sox teams.
Yeah, have you seen those, Gordy? They're sweet.
They're awesome. The only thing that could get better with that is if we did one with a kilt. That would be awesome.
I love that. We could. Hey, our buddy William Sampson, who lives in Minneapolis, not far from Ken Zieska, he's kind of our official graphic artist for the old AML, and I bet you he could draw Fred the Sock with a kilt, no problem. No problem.
As it's Argyle, Texas. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I think I've had too many hard ciders.
We just call it cider, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Gordy, this is from between one segment to another. Do you know what you got to do?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's see if you know. Go ahead.
Subway chime, go.
Bruce?
Lionel?
Bruce?
Lionel?
Bruce?
final.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I think this is like a...
You're like Warren Zevon, the excitable boy?
Yeah, I think this is like a segment of the All-Star Variety Hour.
Okay.
And I think this is like the second Monday in October. Or the
which up in Canada way will be Thanksgiving Day.
Or it's the last Monday in September. It's one of those 2 days.
Which won't be Thanksgiving Day.
Exactly. It won't be Thanksgiving Day. And you're never going to believe what we're going to tell you. You are never going to believe in a million years what we're...
Should I be firmly seated or maybe even lying on the floor in anticipation?
I think, yes, you absolutely should be seated. You're going to be so excited when you hear this. You're going to be giddy with joy.
I haven't been giddy with joy for some time, and I think that was the alcohol at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Stephen Atwell here, too, who is the owner of Midwest Model Railroad, which is in Independence, Missouri. Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Hey, Steve.
And of course, I assume all our viewers know that besides being famous for Midwest Model Railroad, Independence is the home of one of the U.S. presidents.
Exact Truman.
They just worked on they've been updating his presidential library this past year, too.
Nice.
Is it Truman?
Yeah.
And Stephen is also, what do you call it? What's your official title on Broadway?
Electrician.
An electrician. But what do you do? Like you work on the lights? You just work on the the whole...
the lights, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we lump everything, all that into just an electrics title.
I think we talked about that before, a long time ago. Anyways, we'll talk about that again some other day. Because we got lots to talk about Midwest Model Railroad. So, Bruce, are you ready? You want to take a guess?
They are going to become the preeminent dealer for something.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, they've searched the world over and they've found the product they want.
I know what it is. They finally discover what the things are in Ron's trains.
Yeah, exactly. You know how guys like Clem Harris are always asking me for T-shirts?
Yes, they're nattering all the time and pestering and bothering.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because they want a T-shirt and they want to support the podcast, which is really cool.
Exactly, which is nice.
It's very cool, and it's exciting to see people wearing the T-shirts. And I am completely useless at that job. I am just not. It's just not something I'm interested. It's the second most fun thing I like to do is have people wearing T-shirts. However, it seems complicated to me. So somehow. And we work.
So it sounds like to me, we've had this conversation. You need a guy to do something for you.
Yeah, we need a guy. And years ago, I had Teespring, and then that was okay. But then they sent out a crappy T-shirt, and I just threw my hands up in the air.
Yes.
So Stephen and I were talking over the last couple of days, and now guess who's going to be the official exclusive distributor for AML gear?
Tony Cook?
No.
Oh.
It's right. You're in the right area. You're in.
Oh.
It's
the barbecue place down by the station.
Yeah, so close. Ron Marsh is going to sell him out of his basement. No, that's not.
Oh, perfect.
At Midwest Model Railroad, it's going to be.
Oh, Midwest Model Railroad! Wow. Okay, now it's all making sense. That's why Steve's here.
That's why Steven is here.
Holy jeez. And I am sitting, and that's exciting news.
It is exciting news, and he's already shown me a sample of what the store looks like. By the time you guys are hearing this, it's all set to go and ready to rock and roll. And, Stephen and I'm like, this will be great, because at the end of every show, we can go, we can tell them about our email address, we can tell them about our website, and then we can say, and if you want a T-shirt or a mug or a hoodie or something like that, just go to Midwest Model Railroad. Right along the top, in the top bar. What do you call that bar where all the little tabs are?
The navigation bar.
Right in the navigation bar, there's a little tab that says AML Shop, and you just click on that, and boom.
How sweet is that?
I know. It's going to be cool.
Oh, man, I won't be able to sleep tonight now.
I don't think I will be.
I'm all giddy. I can't just wait for this to get going so I can click on there and order stuff, or see what stuff there is to order to start with, I guess.
I might buy stuff just for the hell of it.
I'm tempted to buy stuff just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted an AML shirt. I've never got one. Now I have that opportunity.
Oh, there you go. It's perfect. He wanted a shirt so bad, he decided to start selling them. Yeah. And they're not knockouts. They're sanctioned, I assume.
Exactly. They're the original. It's all his. The only place you're going to be able to buy AML gear is Midwest Model Railroad. However, there's more exciting news.
More? How can there be more?
There is.
You didn't tell me there'd be more now. Jeez. Whoa. Okay.
you know how well Midwest Model Railroad is doing.
Yes.
Stephen, and when did you move into your current store?
Current store we moved into in February of 2019.
Did you get a new microphone?
I did. It's got one of these official AML stamps right on the side of it.
Man, it's a sweet ride. You sound great. Wait till you hear this. So in the January of 2019, they moved into their current location. It is now 1.5 years later, approximately 18 to 19 months later, and now they're moving to 9,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
wow.
The 2,000 got really cramped really fast.
Well, see, the problem though, Steve, is all brick and mortar stores, as everybody knows, is dying. So I don't know how you'll ever succeed.
Yeah. Did you not read the manual?
Yeah. Somebody, I seem to have lost the manual.
Just lost the manual, and it seems to have worked out quite well.
Yeah, a couple of guys have stopped by and offered the manual, saying I've been doing things wrong. So
right, okay. And you said just put it in the library over there, and we'll get to it. Yeah.
So
that's great news.
It is, isn't it? It's very exciting to be part of.
You're quadrupling plus your space. Wow.
Yeah. So exactly how did this come about, Stephen? I mean, we'll get back. We'll constantly mention the AML shirts, but let's get back to how did this come about that in such a short period of time you've managed to do quadruple or triple your space plus?
Well, that's the easy part. I just called our real estate person and asked if we could find a bigger space.
Like, is the hobby growing that much, or are you just that good at it, or is it a combination of both, or what?
I think it's a combination of both. I think we're doing really well at it, and the way that we've chosen to set ourselves up has reached a group of people that wasn't getting reached before. But also, I mean, the hobby's still growing. We are, during the March, April, May of 2020, which was, a disaster for most people, we saw a lot of orders that are new people getting into the hobby. A lot of new, a power pack, some track, a locomotive, a handful of cars. It was pretty clear that I'm starting a layout. A lot of orders that were suggested starting layouts. So I think a lot of people that said that maybe they were going to get into the hobby and had put it off and put it off and put it off, finally found, I have time that I can do this now. Might as well get it done. And so we've seen a lot of that.
So, but you were doing really well even before COVID struck.
We've been
I bet
very steadily growing for years.
A better question.
Yeah, you originally started in your father's basement, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, 10 years ago, we started with not that much in inventory. Out of, the inventory took up, less than 100 square feet in the basement initially.
All right.
10 years later, it's now a little more than that.
Yeah, because you and your dad were basically looking for N-scale parts, so then you decided to start your own shop to get N-scale parts.
Yeah.
So
that was, yeah.
So, all right. So let's just go with between January 1st of 2020 and March 15th of 2020. Did you were still seeing, were you at that point already thinking I'm out of room here?
Yes, things were getting tight already when we were in January. And this was still prior to anything with COVID. And we were looking, we were finding more space. We rearranged the entire pretty much once we were required to shut the doors for everything. We rearranged the entire shop at the top, very top, end of February, top of March. No, I guess it would have been March, April. We rearranged the entire shop. We can tear the shop up and we don't have to have it put back together the next day because customers will be in.
Right.
We just have to be able to pick the orders. So we pretty much ripped it apart and added about 15% shelf space and a couple more pegboard spaces, just by rearranging and whatnot. And that lasted all of about 3 weeks before it was filled again. And okay,
wow.
This isn't. We need to figure out another solution. So pretty quickly we said, we just got to find something else. We can't. We had to add a couple employees, which it was great. It's great to add employees.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the 2,000 square feet with all the shelving and the employees working, it quickly became, we're stepping on top of each other trying to get normal tasks done. we don't have space for 2 people to be shipping and somebody to be counting in. So we had to figure something out.
So counting in is somebody bringing the order. The orders come from a distributor, and they do whatever they need to do to get the stuff on the shelves.
Yeah, we just somebody pulls it all out of the box and just verifies that what's on the invoice is actually what's coming out of the box.
Right.
And then gets it to the shelf. And generally, we've got a guy who picks most of the orders. That same guy who picks the orders generally puts away inventory.
Okay, yeah, because he would know the shop the best probably of everybody. I mean, I know you would know it really well, but he's going around picking orders and putting the inventory back up.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point now where I'll actually be like, hey, Harrison, where the hell is this thing? Because I have no idea anymore.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, that's over there.
Right there behind you, yeah.
And are these young people or middle-aged people? Or?
Harrison's 19.
Oh, wow. Good. So again, another strike against you. No youth are interested in the hobby, right?
Yeah, and Harrison was, when he started, he was really big into trains. He was not into model railroading. And within 4 weeks, he bought himself a Kato starter set. And now on payday every day, he buys himself one new piece of rolling stock or one, like he's pretty good about limiting himself each day, but he will buy himself, it seems he kind of buys himself one new thing each week with his paycheck and does whatever else he needs to with the rest. Good
for him. Now is he interacting with other modelers, model railroads in the area, or is he kind of on his own, looking to you for guidance? How's he doing?
He's kind of on his own. In Kansas City, there's a Facebook group called the Kansas City Mutual Aid Society, I think, that John Percy, one of our shippers, actually runs. And so he belongs to that, and then there's a big group of guys on there that, if you have questions, it's easy to reach out, and it's other local guys that are helpful. A bunch of them occasionally will get together to do work sessions and operating sessions on each other's layouts. So he has that group if he wants to reach out to it, but for the most part, he just asks some of us at the store.
Yeah, and you put him in touch with Shane Mason, the young gun.
Yeah,
he's an end scaler.
Shane's been working at your store a bit, hasn't he, over the last little while?
Shane hangs out at the store a bit.
Yeah, and he does. Did he do?
He's done some clinics with us too.
Yes, and decoder installs and stuff.
He's one of our guys that we use for in-scale decoder installs when he's not completely swamped by himself.
Yeah.
I know that his list right now is longer than he can handle.
Oh, really? Eh?
He's got a backlog. He's got a backlog. At one point, I know he had said his backlog was long enough that he just was telling people, I'm not going to commit to this. Like, I don't know when I could possibly. I don't know. I can't even give you an idea of when I might get to it. So, but I think I think last I talked to him, he'd caught back up a bit to the point where he felt comfortable at least accepting jobs and putting them in line.
Right. Okay. And then, of course, he works for Tony Cook, the editor of Model Railroad News, who lives in Plattsburgh, Missouri, which is on the north side of Kansas. I guess it takes about an hour to get from his place to your place, probably, maybe a little bit more.
I think Shane's actually a little closer than that. I think Shane is, in the 35 to 40, and I think Tony's a little over an hour away.
Yeah.
We see Shane a lot more than we see Tony.
Yeah.
Shane will come down to pick up a couple bottles of paint and shoot the crap for an hour. Tony is generally like a weekend warrior type thing. We'll see him every couple of weeks or every 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah.
And so, okay. So does it seem a little bit daunting to be moving into a considerably bigger space, or are you excited?
It is both. Both of those feelings exist.
Now you're still in Independence?
It is. We're literally moving 100 feet.
Oh,
we're staying in the same building. We're just moving 100 feet. There's a fair bit of work to be done to the space before we can move in. For contractors to deal with, which is great that we can turn it over to a contractor and just say, get this done. And then we don't want to be closed at all. I don't want to miss a day. I don't want to have to have our doors closed for a day. So we're going to try to do it. We're going to, close our normal hour at 5:00 on a Saturday, and hope to open at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning in a completely new location, ready to go. Now, I don't expect it to be polished and everything to be perfect come Monday at 10 a.m., but I also expect the doors to open anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So people aren't surprised that they drive 30 minutes or whatever and the store is closed and they got to turn around. Now, A question I have is our very own Tracy Boyd, the official flight attendant of the AML network. She bought some stuff off you in the spring, and she was ecstatic about how fast she got it. And I remember you and I have talked about that before. Like, you guys turn around your orders like really fast. How do you manage to do that?
Yeah, I mean, so we turn around all our orders. Generally speaking, if an order is in by 2:00, it would ship same day. This past week, we haven't been able. Our mailman's been showing up at like anywhere from 2:45 to 3:15, which has made that a little difficult. So it's been more if your order's in by noon, it's kind of out the door the same day.
Right.
But we staff. There are days where the staff is where we're overstaffed for what orders have come in, but I don't ever want to be understaffed. So we staff appropriately for what we expect.
Right.
And if we've got extra time during the day to clean up the store and organize the stuff because there's lulls and stuff, even better. I'd rather that happen than not be getting our orders out the same day or the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a priority to us. We prioritize, like, these customers have paid for their stuff. There's no reason that we can't get it out to them. And I feel that it's our job to get it out in a reasonable time. And for me, a reasonable time is within a day.
Yeah. And then before you know it, the stuff. Well, I think we were talking to Ron Marsh, and he says some stuff, he'll order stuff and it'll show up the next day at his place.
Yeah. I mean, it helps. Ron's only, I think, 95 miles away, but
still,
and it helps that we're centrally located, since we are in Kansas City. Even the furthest reach in the U.S., I still think is like a 3 to 4 day priority mail.
And do you mostly use the Postal Service, or do you use UPS? Or
we use, I don't want to say it's not exclusively the Postal Service. I would say 99% of our packages go out Postal Service. When we have very large items that go out, or an order that has multiple large items together that make it into a large box, the USPS absolutely is wretched with large boxes.
Right.
So we will send stuff out UPS if it requires. But we ideally try to get USPS, and they're great because every day, somewhere between 3 and 5 o'clock, they show up at the back door, knock, put it all in the truck, and drive away. UPS is, I mean, we're in a commercial building, so the UPS is there every day. But some days it's 10 a.m., some days it's 4 p.m. It's all over the board. It's a little more difficult for us to count on when we would find UPS at the door. But USPS does all of their normal stuff and then goes back and does collections, and we're a collection point for them, so they swing by and pick it up.
So it's basically unheard of with Midwest Model Railroad that if you order something on a Wednesday, it absolutely positively will leave the premises by the end of work Thursday.
Yeah.
So
that's correct.
And more often than not, it's less than 24 hours before it's out the door.
Yeah, and the only caveat to that at all is if it's something that we are back ordering, and when that happens, it literally it tells you when you add it to the cart, it tells you at checkout, hey, that's a back ordered product right now. Like the NCE right now is having issues with suppliers on getting parts to get all their stuff made. But that hasn't slowed down how many power cabs people want. So, we've got a handful of back orders for power cabs, and I've gotten 3 shipments of power cabs over the last 3 months, and normally we stock half dozen to a dozen of them, and our shipments are coming in, maybe here's 2, here's 3 as they get stuff done.
Wow.
And ultimately we open the box, I carry them straight to the shipping room, and I pick the first 3, first 2, whatever the case is on the list, and send them out immediately. Just, there they go. See you later. Out the door.
Yeah. So, I mean, even something's back ordered, I think a lot of it too is people feel like they can rely on you guys. I'm sure once you get a customer, it's the customer is a continual return person because of the confidence they have in the way you operate your business.
Yeah, and the other plus is that customer's happy. He's going to let his friends know. So then it's good win-win all the way around.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the questions we need to ask, and Bruce, you'll be able to help me with this.
Try.
Yeah, I know you will, buddy. Hey, have you heard, Bruce? If you need a T-shirt right away, Midwest Model Railroad, just click on the AML shop button, and boom, you're there.
It's impressive.
I'm going to buy something off there just for the heck of it.
just to see how long it takes to get up to.
I don't care. I don't care how long it takes. I just want to
buy something.
I just want to buy something.
Are there any prizes for the first order, Steve?
Oh, yeah. Well, when are we?
Well, you're going to need to catch up because I'm already entering my payment information.
Here's a question between the three of us we can figure out. But first, what was my question going to be?
I don't know.
I had a good question. Yeah. No, that wasn't it. Damn, I'll come back to that question. It was a good question, too. Are you sure you want to be associated with us, Steve? But I am interested in, that's what the question was. I do remember now. Boy, oh boy, can you...
Attaboy.
Someday, Steve, your money it'll be well worth being associated with, and it'll be just like a real show. It's amazing to me that these guys, him and his dad, started in their basement, and they're so efficiently run. Steve's full-time career is an electrician on Broadway. I have asked him point blank, if the store gets so big, will he abandon that? And he is very adamant that he will never abandon Broadway, the Great White Way. So, I mean, it's fascinating that these guys have managed to learn this business on their own and be so successful at it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because you didn't know what you were doing that you ended up being really good at what you're doing?
I mean, I think it helps that we didn't have any bad habits or learned bad things to break. I knew what I hated from a customer experience. I knew what my friends hated from customer experiences. I looked around at other online retailers outside of our industry and saw, I really like this shop. Why do I like that shop? And we actually sat down and tried to figure out what it was about certain shops that we liked and what it was that they were doing that we could emulate. And we just approached it that way. And when we ran across things that I don't know what I'm doing here, we sit down and discuss, all right, what do we think we should be doing here? And we just go from there, rather than, well, it always used to be done this way, or this is the way I learned it, or this is the way, we're not 100% efficient, I'm sure. There's no way we were ever going to be. But it's a learning process. We're enjoying every bit of it. And it's easy to keep up with modern things when we're not stuck in older ways.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Well, this is the way I've always done it, and I don't feel like changing now. If I ever get to that point, I hope I just get out.
Yeah, exactly.
It can't be good for a business.
No, but you enjoy. I like the fact. I get excited by the fact that you enjoy the challenge of kind of putting this giant jigsaw puzzle together that keeps adding more pieces. It seems to me it's just as much fun for you to be a part of this shop and make it grow as much as you can as anything else. The challenge is just as much fun as the experience. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love the challenge of it. I mean, and that's one of the biggest things I love about my job in New York is it's always a challenge. There's always things to think about and to try to figure out and to try to overcome with my job in New York. So when this stuff presents itself through this, I enjoy the challenge of it. Sometimes I get beat down a little bit about it, but they're puzzles. I love puzzles.
Yeah, it's just
it makes it fun for me.
It's just a positive experience all the way around. How far? You must feel like the hobby's growing like crazy.
I think the hobby is growing like crazy. I think it's I think it's fully exploded and there's goo all over everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Even before COVID, Jim Hediger used to always say to me, when there was a downturn in the economy, that's when model railroad would grow. And I think model railroading was just set perfect. You guys are a perfect example. You guys were perfectly set. We didn't want this to happen. We didn't want a pandemic or anything like that, but you guys were perfectly placed to take advantage of it if people started coming to you.
Yeah. And I have to say we saw huge spikes in numbers, especially right around the time of the first stimulus check in the U.S. And we wanted to remain as safe as we possibly could in the shop. I'm currently living in my parents' basement while Broadway shut down in New York, so there was no point in me sitting. I'd be sitting in my apartment in New York, which was not. There's no point in me being there. So I've been in Kansas City since mid-March.
Right.
I will say that 2 weeks is about as much time as anyone my age should probably spend at the parents' house. It takes some. There will be therapy after this, I think.
A little bit of adjusting is what you're saying?
Yeah. But it. I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, we were talking about you living at your parents' house. Now, you guys, because your mom's been helping and your work with your dad. I mean, you guys seem to be able to get along and put up with it all, and
Yeah, and so during this time where we saw a huge spike in orders, and some other shops fell substantially behind and whatnot. The three of us, I'm already living here, so we're already exposed to each other. Some of our shipping clerks, we were able to maintain 6-foot distance in the store, and really pretty much 10-foot distance in the store at all times. When it was closed, we had to have a shipping clerk come in. John wanted to pick for himself, so he'd come in at 5:00 in the morning, not because we asked him to, because he's a morning person anyways. And he said, "Well, hell, I'll come over at 5:00 in the morning and leave at 1, and you guys come over at 1." And we would stagger it. And there were days during the shortly after the stimulus check where John would work from 5 until 1. I might come in at 9 a.m. and work from 9 until 5, and Gary might come in at 2:00 and work from 2 until 10. And we were pretty much working 2 full shifts to make sure orders got out. There were times that I would come home at 10, and I didn't have a car at the time, so I was just borrowing one of theirs. And there were times that Gary was like, "Here, give me the keys," and he would turn around and go back to work.
Yeah.
And he would work from 2 until 4, or until 2 in the morning or something. He would just pick orders and make sure they were all in a cart, so that when John came in at 5:00 in the morning, he wouldn't have to pick anything. He could just pack. So we did whatever it took to make sure that orders continued to go out on time.
Pretty exciting.
And until we could get, eventually we were able to get
some help.
We didn't have the employees in place up at that point to deal with that influx. So we did whatever it took to make it work. And we made it work.
Yeah, you made it work, and it's going great. And I am super stoked about us being collaborating on this. I think it's going to be great. People can now and I've been scrolling through this, Bruce, while we've been doing it, and there's all sorts of colors. I'm kind of falling in love with the maroon there.
There's a vast selection. Like you could come home with a whole rainbow worth of T-shirts out of here without that much difficulty.
And it's perfect for Stephen in Midwest, because I can see me at the end of every show doing like 3 minutes on, "Hey, has anybody got the maroon one yet?"
What do you think of it? Yeah.
Just go over
how about that peacock blue one? What do you think of that one?
This is perfect. This is perfect. Stephen, this is going to work. You and I are going to work. We are going to work like a finely oiled machine.
I can tell you for the first order has already been placed.
Oh, my.
Okay. What was the first order?
The first order was, let me see, the original T-shirt.
The original. There you go.
Yeah. So then we got, we're going to put the poker chip one up. I've never been, and Stephen everybody should also know that, Stephen, I was pretty anal about getting the original just right. But then I tried to explain to him, like, after we get past this one, I'll be a lot less anal, but I wanted to get it just right, because it's the original T-shirt.
Yeah. And for me, I've been trained in my Broadway career that, I can have an opinion, but ultimately it's up to someone else. You want that thing moved 2 millimeters to the left, I'll move it 2 millimeters left, and I'll even stand here for 4 hours and hold it while you make your decision.
You know what impresses me, though, Lionel, is looking through that they do cater to, as Tracy, our flight attendant, would say, persons of size.
Yes. Yeah. While you're taking up 2 seats.
Yes. While you're taking up 2 seats, you can be sporting that 5XL original Modeler's Life T-shirt.
Now, do you guys ship all over the world? I'm kind of eyeing these mugs myself.
We do ship all over the world, and those mugs are nice. So the standard, there was a few options on mugs, but ultimately, I think we settled on the standard size coffee mug, with your logos on both sides of the mug.
Wow.
Doesn't matter.
It's got the original plus the other side.
No, it's so there's one mug with mug with the original on both sides. So it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. There's always one facing forward and one facing you, right. Or the mic logo. There's one of those with the mic logo on both sides.
Okay. All right, one last piece of business. So Stephen has very graciously suggested that in the front windows of the new store, he's going to want to put some stuff in the windows, some stickers or products they sell and things like that.
Yes.
And he's very graciously suggested that he would put a Modeler's Life fair size sticker in the window.
Very nice.
So here's what the three of us have got to decide. And Bruce, you've been here since the beginning, so you have a very valuable vote.
Uh-oh.
Right now, I'm kind of leaning to the AML, the round sticker with AML and the microphone, because it says
the microphone one. Yeah,
because it says a modelerslife.com on there. So if somebody's looking at that in the window, they have an address where they could go.
And of course, it'd be like 4 foot by 4 foot, so it'd be easily seen by the road.
Well, I don't know about that. You'll have to.
I think my printer only goes like 27 by 27. 27 by indefinite, but
yeah, I think
that'll work then.
Yeah, 27 inches around. There'd be a pretty sweet sticker. I'm going to have to get one of those.
Yeah,
you probably start selling them.
Be a big sticker.
So what do you think, Bruce? The round one or the original oval?
Well, the round one, for the fact it does have the website address on it. When we came up with the original, it was like, I like talking, listen to sound my own voice. Who knows how far this is going?
Yeah. What do you think, Stephen? The round one or the original oval?
I will say I am a big fan of the round one, but at the same time, I can put, just like we did on all the T-shirts, I can stick a modelerslife.com right underneath the logo.
The oval.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I think it's got to be the oval.
Then go with the oval.
Yeah.
That's the oval with the modelerslife.com under. Now,
there. Yeah.
Now we got her covered. There you go. It's good you hooked up with this guy. He's pretty smart.
This is going to be sweet. I am excited when people start hearing this.
Well, and you know what would be even better is that when this officially gets going, I'll use official in quotation marks, I think it'd only behoove us to get a hold of Mr. Tony Cook of Model Railroad News to come by and report on the big event.
Do maybe a little write-up in Model Railroad News. Wouldn't that be sweet, of all the products now available at Midwest Model Railroad? I'm loving it.
And he could be modeling them, too. You got a picture of him sporting the hoodie or something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah. We're not everybody's beautiful.
I mean, some voices are made for radio.
Yeah,
he's no Chris Adams vest guy, but
yeah. Now that's what we need is one of these pictures with Chris Adams wearing one. That would be fun too, man. With the possibilities are endless.
Indeed,
this is so cool. This is so cool. This is going to be awesome. I'm very excited already. So as of now, I'm assuming that it's up there because we'll put this on the last Monday in September. So I'm assuming it's up there now. The site's working on the last. What's today? The date is the actual date of this day is
September 4th.
No, when this podcast is actually being broadcast.
Oh, the 28th of September.
It's the 28th of September that we're talking right now. And you're on your way to work. You're Tom Jacobs. You're sitting in your office at home, and all of a sudden you hear that all I got to do is go to MidwestModelRailroader.com, and all my AML stuff is right there. Beauties. I'm excited.
Indeed.
So I think we'll make this segment the last part of this show.
Okay.
Which means we can practice and give Steve a live example of how this is going to work.
Yes, we can.
So, Bruce, can you give out our email address?
Yes, our email address. Please send us your emails. That's why we're giving you the email address. Modelers Life, modelers with one L, modellerslife@gmail.com.
And we have a website, amodelerslife.com. If you go there, you'll see the recent shows. You'll see some shows that are upcoming. You'll see a page about the crew. If you do want to send us an email, there's a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state right on the top of the website. So you just click on his face and you'll automatically be able to send an email. However, also on the website, there'll be a link to where you get your T-shirts, mugs, and what have you. And you get all of that stuff from Midwest Model Railroad. And if you just go there, it's Midwest. It's mid as in IMD or
Take two?
Yeah. MID West, WEST, model, RR.com. You go there. There's a tab right across the top that says AML Shop. You click on that tab, and boom, you're in the AML Shop. And then you're also going to be able to go, if you click back on home, you'll see all the cool stuff that's happening in the shop. And while you're buying a T-shirt, buy yourself a bottle of paint, buy yourself some Woodland Scenics ground foam, or maybe they got the new 40-foot well cars from Walthers. Buy those. Just buy yourself a shirt and whatever else is going on. That's I think we'll get smoother at that, but I think that's pretty much the way that's going to shake out. That is going to work really well. And do we have anything else? I think that's it.
I should have bought the yellow shirt.
Oh.
It's a good looking shirt.
Well, maybe you can get into the system and change your order.
Yeah. There's a ton of colors. That's the other thing too. We're going to be talking about the colors. We're going to get Kelly on here and he'll be talking about colors. I'm kind of partial to this forest green. That's kind of a sweet shirt right there. That's man, oh man. And then I'm going to send them. We're going to do the poker chip shirt, and we'll do the circle and the modelerslife.com underneath it. And we're going to resurrect the coffee stained shirt, which was very popular with a lot of people. And we'll put that on a hoodie too. And what else could we have out there?
I do have an idea I want to run by you later about a specialty shirt.
Okay, a specialty shirt. Okay, cool. All right. So now this is the end of the show. We've discussed the email. We've discussed the website. We've discussed that you can buy your shirts at Midwest Model Railroad, and then buy other stuff while you're there. I would go to if you're an N scaler, go to the N scale tab. That's what I would do. Load up. You want to be walking at a Midwest Model Railroad like it's the 4th. It's just before Christmas. I want to see both arms full as you're stumbling out of the store. And then all we got left to do is the ending. Stephen, do you think you could handle the ending? Are you familiar with the ending?
I don't know what type of episode this is, but I've got a few options here.
Yeah, this is the typical. This is the most common ending. So I think you'll pick it up as we're going along.
Yeah, just listen for your cues.
Yeah, and follow the beat. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
postmen.
Now it's time for the New Jersey Transit Elevator Escalator Report. Take it away, Dave. Dave?
Good morning, everybody. Westfield westbound, just out of service in the last hour or so. The vendor's en route. Take a look at that one. Absecons back in service this morning. Trenton Transit Center number 4 escalator. This one, we're not really sure exactly what happened. Nice Vision shows a bunch of people on it. It just sort of stops the brake engage. So I think we'll just be a quick reset, but we'll check it this morning. Union Center Island is still out for its midlife overhaul. Montclair State University number 2 is out. That one's the parking deck responsibility, so they'll put it back in service this afternoon, hopefully. And Newark Penn Station elevator number 37 is still out for its door replacement. We're not real thrilled with the vendor performance on that guy, but it'll come around here like everything else. So I'll keep you posted.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
postmen delivering AML shirts. Boom.